we were working crazy hours. I was eating so much mac and cheese. I was like taste testing things. I was gluten overload. My body
Mm.
started to reject gluten.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dominique, and welcome to Eat with Dominique, the podcast for women with gluten sensitivities, IBS, and other gut challenges who want to eat confidently and pain-free. Raise your hand if you grew up loving mac and cheese, only to suddenly be unable to eat it once you went gluten-free. Same. Which is why today I'm chatting with Sarita Ekya, founder of Smack, the iconic New York City mac and cheese restaurant that's become a go-to for the gluten-free and allergy-friendly communities. Sarita talks about how endless mac and cheese taste testing led to her own gluten allergy, why removing all-purpose flour from their recipes required her engineering degree, and the deeper mission behind creating comfort food that everyone can eat. I can't wait for you to hear this. So, without further ado, grab a seat and let's eat with Dominique.
So, Sarita, I was in New York this past summer and I was looking for some gluten-free mac and cheese. And honestly, I actually wasn't expecting much, but then I found Smack. And now I have to go back every single time I go to New York City. So I guess let's go back to the beginning and how did Smack actually start?
So Smack started over this is our 20th year of business. So the idea was conceived over 20 years ago because it was in 2005. My husband and I just moved to New York City, and we're both engineers. I'm a mechanical engineer. He's a software engineer, and we got pulled by the city, and so we landed in the East Village, fell in love with the neighborhood, and just started eating out like crazy because New York.
Yeah.
And we were like, like almost like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We were like kind of overdosing just because we were so enamored by so many different places. And we really loved the niche restaurants because it wasn't something that you saw what seemed to be outside of the city.
Hmm.
And so we just started eating at a lot of these niche restaurants. So we landed ourselves at the Peanut Butter Company, and we were eating our PB&J sandwiches. And I said to my husband, I was like, wouldn't it be great if there's a place that did this, grilled cheese, and mac and cheese? Ah, mac and cheese. That's
Hmm.
the next place we're going to go eat, is the
Hmm.
mac and cheese place. And guess what? It didn't exist. It
Hmm.
didn't exist in New York. And from what all of our research showed, didn't exist anywhere. And we were just kind of like, wow, this is weird. Like, if mac and cheese, there seems to be a restaurant for almost everything else.
Right.
And so it was just this idea. We couldn't shake it. And, we both had the entrepreneurial bug for sure. Like, we wanted to open our own company. We just thought it'd be more engineering related.
Mm-hmm.
But this was an idea. Like, we were already in a transition period because we had just, we had quit our jobs just to move to the city. So it was kind of this thing, it just seemed to make sense for us.
Yeah. Were you coming from somewhere else in New York or were you coming from Canada or?
So, no, we were coming from New Hampshire,
Ah,
Manchester, New
okay.
Hampshire. Yeah, we were both working there.
Wow, that's incredible. So like you said, you're a mechanical engineer and your husband is a software engineer. So food wasn't the background that you had. But what would you say about your background helped you build this business?
So much of our engineering gets applied to this world of restaurants. It's one of those things where, my mom always asks me, or she used to, when she's like, you didn't waste your engineering degree, right? I'm like, no, no. And I would have to say no, because that is like one of the hardest degrees to go through. Like, it is so arduous and a lot of work. So I was like, no, didn't go to waste because engineers are problem solvers, right? So in restaurants, you're solving problems every day.
Hmm.
And one really kind of beautiful thing about having an engineering background is we approached a restaurant a little differently, right?
Hmm.
So we chose a food that was, America's comfort food, right?
Hmm.
So, and we both love to cook. So coming up with the recipes was not difficult for me. It's all the other pieces.
Hmm.
And since we were the first people ever to open a just mac and cheese place, we opened with a lot of traditional kitchen equipment and
Hmm.
realized, oh, this doesn't work for our model because
Hmm.
we're trying to do fresh batch cooking in a very quick time, right?
Hmm.
So it's like
Hmm.
we're still fast casual, we're still quick, but we are making everything from scratch. So
Hmm.
that's where our engineering skills came into play. Like, we went out and it was a research project. We tested so many different ovens, so many different pieces of equipment. We'd come with our mac and cheese cold, we'd come with our laptops, and all these people, salespeople or chefs who would see us or working for those companies selling the equipment would look at, they're like, are you guys chefs? I'm like, no, we're engineers. Like, okay, this makes way more sense because like how your approach to this is like very different, right? So that basically allowed us to create this amazingly tight and efficient system in the kitchen to get our product out the best way possible without sacrificing ingredients and quality and freshness. Same went with takeout packaging. We originally started with aluminum foil packaging and like a plastic top. And our mac and cheese comes out hot. So you can only imagine trying to put that plastic top on aluminum. So that was like a whole other year project, honestly. So we did so many of those projects. So that's kind of like the more traditional, like mechanical, and my husband was electrical software. Then you pivot into the food side. So there's all of that. So when we started becoming allergen friendly and offering different types of variations to feed people who had specific limitations with what they could eat, that I call that a whole food science thing, because we had to learn so much, we had to taste and taste test so much, we had to look at different properties of ingredients. So again, all engineering.
Yeah. And I know you said that like when you were originally coming up with those first recipes, you kind of had experience like with cooking. So you cooked a lot before then, like the idea of creating these recipes wasn't intimidating at all.
No, and I think that's funny because one of the first things people ask me is like, "Oh my gosh, how did you come up with the recipes?"
Right.
Because you won't believe how, I mean, it was work, but it was the easiest part of opening this restaurant.
Yeah.
It really is like you can turn almost anything into a mac and cheese if you just have the right proportions and right. Like,
Right.
so it's so fun. Like I have so many different flavors that I want to hit the menu. It's just we're like a small space, and sometimes people find it overwhelming to begin with when they walk in. They're like, oh, I have so many different choices, so I don't want to overwhelm people anymore. But you can throw out some random dish and I could probably turn it into a mac and cheese because it's just like the nature of the food.
Yeah. That is what's so incredible because I feel like when you're a kid and you have mac and cheese, you just think of like the basic, like heat up in the microwave. And when I went to your restaurant, it was amazing because you do it. There's like cheese I'd never heard of before. And then I tried it and I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, so that was really awesome.
Like a funny side story to that. So a week before we opened Smack, we had all of our recipes and we have a classic, like a 4 cheese, right? And we kind of like literally didn't think about putting like a really basic mac and cheese on the menu, right? And a week before, we're like, oh, I guess we should put this on because, that's what some people, like the kids might want it.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Like the All-American, one of our best sellers. Also, not just the kids, the adults want it because that's what they're used to a lot of the times, right?
Right.
So it was so funny. I was thinking, oh my gosh, we didn't even think about putting like, it's just where your brain is at while you're like going through this process. You look back and go, oh my gosh, of course it was a no-brainer, but it wasn't to us at the time because we weren't trying to create a restaurant that was just for kids. This was an adult restaurant that you could bring kids to.
Yeah. That's very true. That's really funny. I think I actually got the All-American when I was there, so I guess I would have been. You're right. I would have been out of luck.
I think we would have figured that out pretty quickly after we opened that oh, we don't have something that people are like trying to say, what's like kind of like craft, but not, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. I feel like also when you first go, it's like you're first entering, you're like, okay, like I'm trying it out, I'm feeling it out. And then each time you come, you're trying something new. So I feel like the All-American's a good like entry point.
100%.
When you first opened up the restaurant 20 years ago, did you ever think you would still be here today?
Yeah, we did. We believed so much in this idea. We also thought we'd be more than one restaurant by this point, and we did try and grow and then contracted, and now we're kind of back at that again. You throw in a hurricane, you throw in a pandemic, and then things
look a little different. Right?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird to be on this end of it to say, oh, it's been 20 years, but we always believed in the idea. We definitely thought that Smack would still be around. We also thought Smack would be in many more places than it is, but still working on that anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it is incredible, like you said, because I've never come across anywhere else that's doing what you guys are doing. And when I went, like you said, I feel like most good ideas, when you hear it, you're like, well, obviously, like, why would there not be a mac and cheese restaurant? But no one's doing it. And you guys did it, which I think is really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was people coming and saying, I thought of this idea. I'm like, you know what? I believe it because these are like, it can't be just us having this idea, right? It's people have the same idea all over. It's just a matter of whether you execute it or not. Because
Yeah.
ideas are forming in our minds every day.
Right.
All of us.
Right. Yeah. It's like ideas are a dime a dozen, but it's like you said, it's always the execution of who actually will put in the work and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's something people don't see or maybe that they like underestimate about what it takes to run a restaurant?
I think that most people don't see the fact that there's so many moving parts and every single one of them is so important.
Hmm.
So I'll try to think example wise because there's just so many things that have to happen to make this customer experience go right.
Hmm.
Right. So say you have a huge thing happen, half your ovens break down.
Mm.
That's a huge deal. That's a very costly, huge deal that you have to deal with. But guess what? In the meantime, uh, maybe I'm trying to think of something else. Uh, maybe you've got like a outage, like a electrical outage, right? So
Hmm.
you can't. So like our kiosks are working. So like like every little thing. Your cilantro didn't come in today, so now you have to go.
Mm.
Oh, the local version doesn't have cilantro right now. So it's like all these little things
Right.
are all almost equally important. Like
Yeah.
you would think, oh, cilantro, who cares? But I'm like, no, because the person who orders that dish,
Right.
it's the kind of food that if you don't have the dish that they want, that's
Hmm.
the reason they came to the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
That is the one reason they want the masala mac and it has to have the cilantro.
Right.
And so now you've got someone scrambling to get that, to come back, to chop it. Like, so it's like even the littlest things, if that goes wrong, it can really cause this effect, like this big snowball effect that you would think wouldn't be a problem, but it can be a problem.
Yeah.
And I think people don't see that because they're not living it. You're
Hmm.
going in to experience something and you're not seeing the behind the scenes. And why would you? Because
Yeah.
that's not what part of this experience is. You're not supposed to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. When you first started, did you think like did you ever expect those sort of things to be issues? And I guess what I mean by that is like, were you like, oh, like one day we won't be dealing with those issues? You know what I mean? When you like have a goal and you
Oh
kind of don't
yeah.
think about,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I still say that to my husband, like, oh, I was 20 years into it, I'm still dealing with a spectrum outage. Like, please, you know,
yeah,
right? And it's still the same complicated. Yes, we have ways around it, but it's still like complicated, right? It's
right,
not still easy because something's not working.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So you talked about how like when you first launched, you had your set recipes. When did like the gluten-free side of the menu first like enter into the world of Smack?
So we opened in June 2006. 2007 is when we took on gluten-free as a
Mm,
project.
hmm.
Uh, I remember someone emailing me in shortly after we opened, and they were like, "Hey, I'm gluten free. Can I come to your restaurant if I bring my own pasta?"
Oh
And
wow.
honestly, I didn't know what gluten free was, and I was like, "Oh, gluten free." And I said, "Sure." This person never showed up, and thank goodness they didn't, because guess what? Our bechamel at the time was made with all-purpose flour,
Wow,
right?
yeah.
So, uh, and then I started like kind of hearing a little bit more about gluten free.
Hmm.
It wasn't something that I had heard much of. So we're talking 2006.
Hmm.
So then, and this is also in New York City where, there's a lot of everything going on.
Right.
So then we started looking into it and like, oh, this is huge. Like between like actually gluten intolerance and celiac, like this is a big deal.
Hmm.
And like this is a decent part of the population. I was like, that doesn't get to eat pasta, that doesn't get to eat this, or there's not really that great options that are out there. So we decide we're going to take this on. We
Hmm.
are going to try to do this. And if we can't do it safely, we're not doing it. So that was
Hmm.
the first thing. In the meantime, so this is 2007. Yes. So then interestingly enough, we're developing all of this. I believe it hit our menu in 2008, if I'm not correct. Uh, Ended up, going through so much research. I mean, it was fun, but it was also like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get there?
Right.
And the reason being that at the first off, you're talking 2007, where there's not a lot of gluten-free alternatives, right?
Hmm.
So you're taught and then we are also now already becoming more allergen friendly in
Hmm.
that sense. Like we're thinking about these things like, okay, if we're going to introduce this,
Hmm.
we can't, like we didn't want to introduce corn pasta
Hmm.
because a lot
Hmm.
of people can't have corn pasta.
Right.
Like, okay, let's find a rice pasta. Let's find a rice pasta that we can source.
Hmm.
Let's find we need to find things that have minimal ingredients because that's what we were all about from day one. We're not putting things on the menu that people can't recognize the labels on, right?
Right.
So we're doing that. We are like, how do we do this with all-purpose flour in the restaurant? We're a very small place. We're a very tight kitchen. We can't. Okay, this is now the biggest challenge is how do you eliminate all-purpose flour from all the recipes that people have been eating now for over a year,
Wow.
right?
Without changing the
So
flavor either, because they like the way that it
this is
tastes.
the big thing. And guess what? The other thing is so all-purpose flour not only has its own distinct like non-flavor, it also has certain properties, right?
Mm.
It has binding properties, it has reheating properties, it has like there's so many things there. We're like, okay, great. We had no idea.
Right.
Engineering project, and because we had to be able to make sure that whatever flour slash flours we're going to use, they have to they have to basically be tasteless, right?
Hmm.
They have to reheat properly, they have to freeze properly, they have to, because some people would get refrigerated, throw it in the freezer, some people would cook it in the microwave, some people would cook it in the oven.
Right.
All we had to go through all that testing. And at the time, again, gluten-free flours weren't really, you know,
Mm-mm.
wasn't like there was a ton of gluten-free flours out there.
Yeah.
And so then we went to Bob's Red Mill,
Mm.
great Bob was, and we were like, okay, what are the gluten-free flours offered by Bob's Red Mill because they're very safe. That's the
Hmm.
other we need to make sure it was safe and actually gluten-free. And we basically did combinations of things, taste
Mm.
tested, get friends to taste test. And then what we used to do, we were always in the restaurant back in those days, right? Like every shift, me or my husband was always there. So
Wow.
we started giving our regulars, whoever ordered All American, is All American has the least distinctive flavor out of all of the, right? Because
Mm.
it's just two cheeses.
Right.
So
Right.
we would give them their All American, and then we would give them an All American with whatever we were testing, right? We're like, try
Oh,
this and come back to us.
yeah.
And it wasn't until one of our regulars came back and he says, that new one you gave me, I like that one better. And they're like, there's our combo.
Wow. That's perfect. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So then we were able to eliminate all-purpose flour out of it because then now it's like, okay, our bechamel is always made with potato flour and sweet rice flour. That's the
Hmm.
combo, right?
Right.
Always. So now, no, then it's like breadcrumbs. So like you
Hmm.
can't have gluten. So then we started making our own breadcrumbs.
Hmm.
And so that was basically, and so then really really the bechamel was the biggest challenge.
Hmm.
And then the breadcrumbs we were able to figure out, because also there's gluten-free bread out there, right? So we
Hmm.
were able to like, and that was available. Uh, at the time, the only problem again was it had other stuff in it, right? So we
Right.
actually started out with like, we did end up doing corn, corn and soy breadcrumbs for a while. We
Hmm.
wanted to get those things off the menu.
Hmm.
And so finally we were able to find a gluten-free bread that was, was allergen friendly and other aspects too. We end up doing that.
Hmm. Wow. It's so cool to hear, like you were saying, like that engineering process, though, like the iterative, like keep testing, keep like improving. And then once you find something, then, okay, what's the next thing to improve and iterate and all of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, and we were very much excited
Hmm.
to launch. Then after we launched it, a year later, I got pregnant. Sorry. Then while we were testing it, yes, it was. Yeah, sorry, it wasn't after we launched it. Of course, while we were testing it, I was like thinking timeline. Yes, shortly after we started researching it and whatever, then we were working crazy hours. I was eating so much mac and cheese. I was eating so much like taste testing things. So I was gluten overload. So my body
Mm.
started to reject gluten.
Wow.
So it was funny because we were like coming like through all of this taste testing, and then all of a sudden now that we're putting a product on that I could finally eat, right? Because it was like during all of this
Right.
same time frame, like what are the chances of something like this happening,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes. And then so that was like, yeah, 2007. And then in 2007 and 8, I was completely gluten free. Uh, and 2009, I got pregnant with my son and I was able to eat gluten again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's a
Yeah.
whirlwind. That's
It was
crazy.
so weird. And it was just the weirdest thing. I was like, how is it even possible? Like, how is it? But it just
Yeah,
seemed the timing of it worked out really well. I was like, okay, I was like, I have to be able to eat my own product. Thank goodness
that's
we're
true.
developing something that I could, I
Yeah.
could eat safely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect timing. Wow. Were there any other ways, I guess, that your own like gluten allergy or any other like family food allergies kind of shaped how you thought about you needed to serve with as you iterated on the menu?
Yeah. So my husband has a shellfish allergy. So right off the bat, we were not going to have shellfish on
Hmm.
there. And even still, people ask us, like, oh, why don't you have a lobster mac or a crab mac? And we're like, now we're so allergen friendly. Like, we don't want to introduce shellfish to the
Right.
restaurant. At first, it was because we can't have him sick, right?
Right.
Second, and
Right.
then it was like, okay. And so, kind of as time went on, and probably as social media got bigger, because when we
Hmm.
first opened, what was social media didn't really exist,
Hmm.
right? In 2006. Um, and social media got bigger, then we realized, oh, people are really like seeking us out because they know they can eat at our place safely. So once
Hmm.
we started realizing that, to be like, okay, let's go through everything in our
Right.
restaurant and see what needs to stay or go. So then we used to have peanut butter cookies gone.
Mm-hmm.
We used to get cookies delivered. Now we actually get dough and we
Hmm.
bake it off on our own. So like
Hmm.
totally separate. So
Hmm.
um, we what else did we do? Looking at like sesame, didn't have sesame in there. Okay, we're not adding it. So that was getting interesting because as we were trying to add ingredients in or do things, we always now have this kind of list. Like,
Hmm.
okay, we
Hmm.
don't want to we which kind of probably I'm jumping ahead a bit, but then our next project was putting vegan on the menu, a
Hmm.
vegan option.
Hmm.
And a
Hmm.
big problem with that was, especially again, we're looking like we started and stopped that so many times because we couldn't
Hmm.
come up with something that we thought was delicious enough.
Right.
Um, because at the time, all of the alternate cheese options had probably an ingredient list that you would know 98% of
Right.
those, 98 out of 100 ingredients, you wouldn't know what they
Yeah.
were, right? And they didn't taste good. And we couldn't also afford to have someone who wasn't vegan try that because a lot of people who order a vegan aren't vegan, they're dairy
Right.
free. So they get the
Right.
vegan, they add sausage in, or they get ground beef in it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so when we were looking at things, a lot of the vegan options for vegan cheese, the ones that tasted good, were the ones that had cashew in them. And
Right.
we were like, we're not adding nuts in, no,
Yeah.
because now we're allergen friendly. And
Yeah.
uh, we had multiple friends who had kids with severe allergies and a lot. Like, I think, just seeing that, seeing how hard it is for people to eat out, and then just, you have this whole set of customers. Like, I would say our celiac customers are probably our most grateful and thoughtful customers as far as like the feedback they give us.
Hmm.
Just because I think that they're just so appreciative that they can eat. And to me, it's like that's part of our ethos. Like we want people to eat we want people to eat at our restaurant who maybe could not eat anywhere else or could
Hmm.
not eat, haven't had mac and cheese since they were little or that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's driven us forward. And you see like the results because you see people happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
very true. I mean, I think something that's like amazing that I'm hearing is kind of like this like through line of being loyal to your customers. Like you said, like we're not going to add this just because it would be like easier or like just to have an option that's not really the best for them, but still is technically vegan or whatever. I think that's really cool. And I know, like when I went to your restaurant, my friend has a nut allergy. And so that was really cool because she could eat there. Like I have gluten allergy. We both could eat there. And it definitely, like you said, made everyone happy. And that was really awesome.
It was just great. Like that's what we want everyone I to be able to eat there. I think there was one, yes, I think I've had one customer there. not they were, people emailing me asking me for like ingredient lists and stuff like that just to make sure it's safe. And there was one person who couldn't eat. I felt so bad. They couldn't eat there because they couldn't have any type of oil on
Oh, wow.
their food. And when we cook our pasta, we toss it in oil. And there was something, and then on one other thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we could. Like, this is the one person I was like, I don't know what we could
Yeah.
do here, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because there was one other thing that they couldn't have. And it was just one of those things where I was like racking my brain, like, how do we make this work? How do we make this
Yeah.
work safely? I'm like, oh, this is a little bit too much of a risk because there's like olive oil everywhere in our restaurant.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We
Yeah.
saute
Wow.
vegetables with it. We just, yeah. So it was one of those things like, oh no. Uh, but yeah, it was, I was troubled by it because I'm like, oh my God, I've never had to say no to someone.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's pretty good though. One time out of all these, out of 20 years, that's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything that you have had to like learn or unlearn or kind of like rebuild as you are making like a gluten-free menu and making it like actually safe, as you've said, not just something that's on the menu, but not maybe safe for people to eat?
So I think it's like a continuous learning process, and a lot of that comes with feedback from customers. Um, so for instance, like in our vegan, when we finally honed in on a vegan recipe, we actually didn't use any substitute cheese. We actually used
Mm,
a coconut milk base, right?
mm,
And that's
hmm.
to make it's like a creamy pasta, but it really does look and taste like a mac and cheese, but there's
Right.
no fake
Yeah.
cheese in it. And one one thing about that was part of our ingredient list for the vegan is we use Marmite in
Mm,
there.
hmm.
And we had offered this in the vegan, and then one of our gluten-free customers told us when we first started that she's like, I'm ordering the vegan. Um, I know it gluten-free. I know it has Marmite in it. She goes, but did you know that Marmite's not technically gluten-free? And I was
Mm,
like, what?
yeah.
Really? Because we put such a trace amount in it. It's basically for that umami flavor, but it's
Right.
such a like you know how dense and strong Marmite is. Or have
Hmm.
you ever tried Marmite or
Mm-mm,
Vegemite?
mm-mm.
Okay, so literally, like you lick it, and it's like licking like miso paste or something,
Oh,
right? So it's
okay. Okay.
really really strong.
Hmm.
Um, and so I said, well, how come you can eat it? And she said, I don't know, but I can.
Mm.
And then I looked, so here we go, Google
Yeah.
search,
Yeah.
right? I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So I'm on all these message boards, me messages like, for some reason, a lot of celiacs or gluten intolerant people will and can eat Marmite, right?
Mm.
But I did not know that. So when people ask me, hey, is your vegan gluten free? I'm like, here's the deal. So why this I'll be as transparent as
Right.
we have Marmite, it's a trace amount, and we have a ton of celiacs and gluten free people who eat it, but it does have Marmite in it.
Right.
So that's for up to you to choose. But again, like that was such a learning experience for me because I had no idea.
Yeah. I've never had Marmite before. That's fascinating though. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So from the beginning, you said that mac and cheese should be for everyone. Why would you say like from the beginning that was so important for you?
I think for us, it, we weren't even necessarily thinking in terms of food allergies right
Mm,
away. I think when we said we want mac and cheese to be for everyone, we're like, okay, this is uh, food that so many people, like we'll say the majority of the population likes or
mm,
loves it, right? I'm just going to
hmm.
throw like 95% of the population. I think that's
Yeah.
probably close to accurate. Um, and we were always kind of focused on price point, right?
Hmm.
We want our food to be accessible. That
Hmm.
was more what was in our heads. Like, needs to be an accessible food. People should be able to afford this,
Hmm.
right? So that was a big one for us. And then as we opened and realized, oh, there's okay, what dietary restrictions prohibit people from actually eating our food. Then like, okay, now this is how we be more inclusive. This is how we get more people to enjoy our food and be happy. Like our core purpose is to give goodness. Like, how do you
Hmm.
give goodness? You want to give goodness to everyone, right?
Hmm.
So that was that was like an evolution for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great ethos to have as well. And I feel like mac and cheese is like the embodiment of goodness as a food. I feel like that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like,
yeah. We always call it cheesy goodness. So it's like, it's our cheesy goodness. It was so funny. I think I put it on Instagram the other day. One of our customers, I wasn't there, but one of our customers, when they put their name in for a takeout, they put cheesy goodness. So one of my staff members
that's
took a
cute.
picture and sent me the receipt. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, we're tracking with our customers.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. Over the years, how have you seen this increase in like gluten-free options kind of enhance the experience for your customers?
Yeah, I would say, it's got so much traction. Like we've been just written up on so many gluten-free blogs, on websites and travel guides, in on now obviously Instagram and TikTok. It's really spread like a lot. And not only is the word out there, what's really cool to see is like I'll see customers and they'll come every year and they'll make their first stop smack. Like they'll have their
Hmm.
suitcase like, I have to have my gluten-free mac and cheese. I have to have it. And
Hmm.
it's like then they all their trips they come to smack because it's like they're like, we know we can have it. We know we can have it safely. This is like on the to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it really is amazing. Like I don't think I'd had it since I was a kid, like back when I was eating like gluten and everything. And so having it for the first time, like as an adult, I was like, this is amazing. Like I literally was shocked to even see it existed. And then the fact that it was
Oh,
actually good, I was like, that's insane. Like I tell everyone about it now.
well, it's funny because I actually don't like I obviously don't have my gluten allergy anymore, but I always get the gluten-free pasta. Like
Right.
I never stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Because I just and then I always tell people like, well, I'm like, it doesn't taste different. I know we
No.
work so hard
Yeah.
to make sure this doesn't taste different,
Yeah.
and it really doesn't. It's just like the shape of the pasta is a little different. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's amazing. I know you talked about like the cheesy goodness name that your customer left. Have there been any other like customer moments or anything where you've been like, okay, like this is why we do this?
Oh my gosh, so many, so many of those. Yeah, I think the biggest one, and now this is I'm like it's pre-pandemic. I'm trying to think of how because the timeline's so weird.
Right.
Um, so probably like, ooh, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is maybe even 10 years ago. We had this woman emailed me and her son was literally dying. Like
Oh,
he
wow.
was a pediatric cancer patient and and he was being treated at Sloan Kettering and we
Mm,
used to pick smack for him. He was young, like 5,
wow.
but he was a foodie, like loved food, new ingredients, like and he loved smack. So one of his just before he passed away, one of the things he asked for was smack. So she sent me pictures of him. Oh my gosh, she sent me pictures of him eating his smack in the hospital and
Wow.
thanking us for providing this, right? Like this is
Yeah.
yeah. I actually after this interview, I have to go back and read the emails again. And then when um when he ended up passing away, one of her friends had emailed me and said, "Hey, um, Vic's passed, and we're going to uh have a celebration of life for him. Could we order some smack?" And I
Wow.
was like, absolutely. And it was just outside the city. I was like, I'd like to, if you guys, if this is okay with you, I would like to bring it. I would love to bring it. Or if not, I don't want to intrude. I don't know how big this is, and they're like, no, absolutely. So I went and met the parents.
Wow.
And uh, honestly, I was like, oh my gosh, like to be in that kind of scenario in your life and to thank us for providing something so special to their like I was like how you made someone feel really good me our staff like everyone there was just like wow, this was so lovely that they shared it with us, but also it felt like okay, this is why we do these things, this is
Yeah.
it, like you're actually making people happy. And same thing when I brought the smack to the celebration of life, and it was just one of those things where I brought his favorites, and yeah, it was just really really nice to meet everyone.
Yeah. Wow. That really is an amazing story. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
that one's sticking around for life. That's like a piece of my a sliver of my heart. It's a piece of my
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely. Wow. What would you say has been like the hardest part or the most rewarding part of doing gluten-free the right way?
Uh, I think the hardest part is always just, making sure that whenever you hire new people or you have something gets changed in the kitchen, that okay, everything still has to remain as safe as possible. People have to understand the importance of this, right?
Hmm.
And so you always like making sure your training systems are tight and staying on top of that. Uh, I mean, I won't lie. There's been like one or two accounts where people have said, "Hey, like I think I might have got some cross contamination." And I'm
Mm.
like, "Okay, I don't, we train everyone, but I can't say that that's not true, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't know." So um, again, that's been very few and far between, but I think that's the most challenging thing, just making sure that every time a gluten-free dish goes out, like all of these protocols are followed.
Hmm.
And so uh, the staff is very good about that, and we will have to, but you have to continue to stay on top of that and stress that importance, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Rewarding, it's basically, I think the most rewarding thing is just really hearing the feedback from the customers and how happy they are, excited.
It is incredible to see like the impact I think that food can have in like bringing people together and
Oh my
just
gosh,
making you
right?
feel like at home and just, yeah, literally comfort food, like the definition of comfort food.
Right, right. Like, and kind of to piggyback on just a much kind of smaller story, but still a story. I remember there was this woman, and she came in shortly after we had opened, and she was on the phone, and she was really aggravated, and she
Mm,
was giving us this really, really hard time because she needed something delivered, and my delivery guys were gone home for the day. This is when we
mhm.
used to have our own. This is like pre like the Grubhub delivery,
Right.
Uber, right? All this is like you had your own delivery staff,
Right.
and I was like, I don't. I'm like, there's only two of us here. Uh, we can't run it out. And she was super mad. And then about 15 minutes later, she came in and she ordered her snack. She sat down. She sat at the table and she just cried. She
Mm,
just cried for like the next 10 minutes. And I just checked in on her. And then after she kind of composed herself, she was like, I was just having the absolute worst day. So many things went wrong. And I just wanted this. And I'm so happy to have it. And thank you. And then she was like, I'm sorry if I was hard on the phone. And then she's like, oh my gosh, like, you just don't know. You don't know what
mhm,
people are going through, right?
mhm.
And not that that gives anyone like the a-okay to like harass service workers, definitely not. But
Right.
but just to see how after eating her snack, how her mood had changed. Like
Yeah.
she just felt a little bit happier, and that changed her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. It's like sometimes you need like that one thing to be like, okay, even if everything else in my day is going wrong, to have like the one meal that's like always there, like always, it's kind of like a show
Right.
that you like, right? Like you're like, okay, if I watch
Right.
this, I'm gonna be like laugh or whatever. Like whatever's happening, I'll laugh. It's like that with I think with
Yeah.
Smack for people. And I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah. And I think also looking back on it now, it's like when you're in it's such a dark space and so unhappy, it's like you are still looking for something that you have control of, right? She
Yeah.
called us and she lost control because things couldn't
Right.
come to her, right? So it's like she now doesn't have control of that either, right?
Yeah.
It's like okay, but she controlled it. She came in and she
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
No, that's very true. So this is, as you said, it's your 20th year in business, which is really, really incredible. When you look back, is there anything that you're most proud of?
Oh, you know, that's always a hard question. It's like, uh, where do you go here? I would say the one thing that I'm most proud of is creating a workplace that um, our staff is super happy to be at that. We've had, like I said, this is 20 years. I've had staff members there for 17 plus years.
Wow.
Um, and before, I can always marker that because is like not going into like the files and pulling, I can always marker that because when my son's 16 plus and these guys were with me when I was pregnant, right? I'm like,
Right.
okay, 17, these
Yeah,
guys are
literally.
definitely there, right? So, yeah, so creating like that kind of place, that was something also that was super important to us going into this business. We came from white collar jobs.
Hmm.
We had no idea or like limited ideas on how poorly people were treated in the
Right.
service world. So we
Right.
would come in, we'd hire people, and people would just kind of assume how you're going to treat them, or you're
Mm.
like, or that they're not going to get their paycheck, or that, oh, really? Well, what tips pooling? I'm not going to get my tip, like
Wow.
because they had been burned so many times in the
Yeah.
past, and we were like, okay, this this is not how we plan to operate, right?
No.
So for us, it was like, okay, right off the bat, I'm like, okay, you guys get paid vacation, you guys get MetroCard, like all these things. Are like this
Wow.
seems like kind of a bare minimum. Like when you're at a white collar job, you get those perks,
Right.
right? Like, uh, so there was this like kind of period of trust too. Uh, I remember when we first opened, and we were kind of taught because we asked the restaurant consultants like how does pay work, and they're like people get paid by shift pay. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. That's not where I come from, but we were salaried, or I was like, hourly or salary, right? And so they're like, yeah, and then people work by shift. So if you need them for 10 hours or 12 hours, they're getting paid by shift pay. I'm like, oh, this seems
Hmm.
odd. So we
Yeah.
started with the shift pay, and shortly thereafter, like, this is so wrong. We're like, shift pay does not seem like
Mm-mm.
the right thing to do. So we sat everyone down and we said, listen, we are going to put the hourly down so that everyone gets paid properly because you guys are working overtime.
Right.
And there was like three people. They're like, no, we want to stay with shift pay. And I'm like, no, yeah, we're not. But and here's the math behind it. But they were convinced that they were just that that their employer, us, has found a way to screw them over, right? Like this is right. So
Oh.
so I remember when the first check came with the actual hourly plus overtime, they were like in shock because they're like, oh my gosh, this is actually beneficial. It's like exactly,
Yeah.
but you can't, but like it's like you can't undo what's been done to, right?
Right.
So that was another that. So to me, I was like, this was really a big deal for both me and my husband, and we still have a lot of work to do on that, in that realm as far as like, we want to we really aspire to give staff not just training at the restaurant, but like life skills training. There's a lot of things that we want to do, and they're in progress. But that is one thing that I have to say I really am proud of. Like we've created a workplace in an industry that's otherwise a lot of times cutthroat, difficult, because it's difficult work to be in with. You're on your feet. When it's busy. When it
Hmm.
rains, it pours, and people always want to eat at the
Mm.
same time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not an easy physical and mental job. We know hospitality is not easy, right? So all of those things are difficult. So we want to make it the most peaceful and harmonious place as possible in the industry as
Yeah.
we could. And that's been super important to us.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, and again, I feel like it all goes back to your ethos of like just goodness for people in general and doing what's best for people. And then also seeing again the engineering thing of like, well, this didn't work. So why don't we try out the hourly because the shift wasn't working? Like, I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, for us, it was also like, why are we kind of went, because we went into so many things blindly,
Hmm.
right? It's like, okay, this is, and that's I think where the engineering thing comes in. You you just accept people are mostly accepting how the industry operates.
Hmm.
But for us, it was like, well, that's no, we can change it. Like we
Yeah.
can. Why aren't we changing it? Like this is what engineers do. We change
Yeah.
things, right? And and also it just wasn't resonating with us like on a moral compass, right? Like
Hmm.
it was like this is not how we want to operate.
Hmm.
And I always say, people know our guys, like they know our staff because they've been there for so long. And I will always get like such great feedback. Like, these guys are the best. Or they treat me well. This is it. Like these are, you know, you want your team to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Are there any other ways you would say now that you guys use your engineering background as you just continue to iterate for Smack?
So I think, for any kind of project work, like we are trying to revamp some things, so we still are doing that. That also is what excites us. Like that is because we are engineers, that is super exciting for us. So any project that comes on takes some type of like problem solving or
Hmm.
thinking it through. And so that's where I would say the engineering comes into play. And before I was operating Smack, I was working as a project manager in my engineering career. So it wasn't like I was hardcore design engineer. So I feel like
Hmm.
I actually do more engineering, more like
Right.
typical engineering or what people would understand engineering to be in the restaurant.
Right. That's funny.
Mm.
So for anyone who's listening who has like a big dream, but maybe thinks that they need like the permission or thinks that they need the perfect timing, what would you say to them?
I would say there's never a perfect time. So there's always, and especially in like this day and age, we've got so many inputs and so many distractions and all this. So that you could always distract yourself. And so I would say the perfect timing needs to be shelved. It's really the belief. If you believe in something, and for us, what worked was we didn't get overwhelmed. We just said, let's see what the next step is.
Mhm.
Just look a few feet ahead of you just to start. Look at okay, what's the next thing that would make sense to do? What's the next thing? So when you start breaking it down like that, and as you kind of go down that path, you are going to like generate either more excitement or like, oh, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
So it could go either way, but you could very easily overwhelm yourself if you're going to try and think of it all at once. So it's just really like breaking it down into pieces and what is the next one or two steps. Okay.
Yeah.
And for us, it was like, they came up with the idea like, oh, let's go talk to some business owners. How do they feel about running a restaurant, or how do they feel like, and kind of like that was our next step, just starting to chat with people. Let's see how they feel. Like, what are they happy they did this? Do they hate this? Was it hard to find the space? Those kinds of conversations. So that was kind of our next step that we got a lot of that data, and then like, oh, maybe we should just take this like crash course in how to open a restaurant, which happened again. You're in New York, you get like one of the best people teaching it, right? So
Right.
took this two-day course, like, and so it was like next step, yeah.
Yeah. Again, more of that like engineering iterative, like how can we be better, like following a plan too, honestly, like having a plan, like you said, project, this is the plan for it and just doing it one step at a time.
Yeah. And you always know that your timeline, I learned this very quickly, is that coming from project management in engineering is very different than opening a restaurant. And
Mm,
I had this thing project managed out, and it opened so not when we wanted it to. Like it's opened so much later. It's so open to we wanted to open quietly. It opened to lines down the block that we couldn't manage, that was stressing us out. Like
wow.
nothing that we had planned for worked in that sense. But
Yeah.
it's good to at least have a plan, because some of those pieces will fall together, but
Right.
a lot of them are just going to be like you're trying to make it through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's funny.
Yeah,
Um,
thinking on your feet very quickly.
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, having to pivot and be creative in that way.
yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, it's time for the rapid fire. So first one up, sweet or savory?
Oh, savory, 100%.
What is your go-to gluten-free, gut-friendly snack?
So I have to answer with something dairy because I love cottage cheese.
Fair,
All right.
fair. What is the mac and cheese combo that you secretly love?
So I do build your own. It's with sharp cheddar, mozzarella, gluten-free pasta, of course, lots of extra breadcrumbs, which are gluten-free, of course, and how I like spicy, so jalapeno
Mm,
and andouille sausage, and I throw broccoli in there to make myself feel better.
yeah. That's funny. That sounds really good. I'm gonna have to try that next time I'm there.
Yeah, this has been like my go-to for a while now. I can't seem to wean myself off of it.
Right. What would you say is your favorite mac and cheese on the Smack menu? Like of the options, what's your favorite
Of
mac
the
and
option,
cheese?
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say the buffalo chicken.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, with blue cheese. I love,
Mm,
and you know what?
mm-hmm.
And sometimes I add spinach to it also to make myself feel better.
Yeah, right. Just add a little
But
green, add a little.
but it actually changes. It alters the flavor, but it's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. What food instantly feels like home?
Oh, so I am very allegiant to. It's not food; it's a drink. But like my homemade chai every day, right? If I
Mm,
don't have that, like I feel like so. That is like a homemade, and also because now I'm gonna like lean into my mom's cooking and her homemade Indian cooking. So there's um, a thing called a pranta. I don't know if you
mm,
know what that is. So it's a
mm-mm,
flatbread,
mm.
and my favorite is her is aloo pranta, so it's filled with potatoes.
Oh,
But
yum.
and and then when I couldn't eat gluten, she would make a gluten-free version for me.
Oh, wow.
But it really is like that's like I can't not. Every time I go home, I have to have that, and then in the morning, like I have that warm cup of homemade chai. I'm like, oh, yeah,
That sounds amazing.
yes.
That's amazing. What is the most underrated ingredient in mac and cheese?
I'm not gonna say. Can I cheat?
Yes.
Okay, it's gonna be the bechamel, which is
Mm,
3 ingredients.
hmm
Because if you don't get that right, you screwed up your mac and cheese, and it's
mm,
literally butter, flour,
wow.
and then of course salt and pepper. All that. But if you screw that up, which is again, you just have to have patience to get it creamy and the right consistency, then perfect your bechamel. If you
Yeah.
don't perfect that, then what you throw into it doesn't matter.
That's funny. What would you say is the best gluten-free food that people don't realize is gluten-free?
Oh, what's kind of funny? I feel like people think hummus has gluten in it. Have you
Mm.
ever heard that?
I've never thought about it, but I could see that. I could see someone thinking
And
that.
I always wonder if it's people like associate with hummus and pita,
Oh,
right?
probably.
Because I've there's been many times where I put hummus out and feel like, oh, is it gluten? I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah, you're like it's
naturally gluten
chickpeas.
free, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah,
But it's just one of those funny things where I think it's the association. Like when people have hummus out, they
right.
think there's pita around it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Mm.
a good answer. I'd never thought of it, but you're right. I could see someone thinking it, but it's like it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
last,
also, I love ham. Hummus is like one of my favorite snacks.
do you ever eat it with the
Jalapenos.
do you ever eat it with the bread that your mom makes?
No, I've never done that, but I bet you it would taste really good with that. It's like the non-filled pronto would be really good with that.
Yeah. You'll have to
I
let me
usually
know.
try, yeah, I try to have like I like my gluten-free crackers with hummus. Like I really
Mm,
like the crunch master and then also cucumbers. But I like
yeah.
the jala. I have a mild addiction to jalapeno hummus, but I like spicy.
Yeah, I do feel like jalapenos make everything better. So,
Yeah.
what is the grocery store aisle you linger in way too long?
Oh, the cheese aisle.
Right?
Always the cheeses. I could taste test them all.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite cheese?
I don't have one that I'm 100%. I love French cheeses. Like I love
Mm,
Chiave. I love Francais. I do love those, but also like now I've kind of gotten very much into even like some like I love like a hard pecorino. Like I used to just
mm,
kind of put that on top of pasta and stuff, but now I'm like, oh, some of them are a little softer and they taste really good. But
yeah.
apparently there's a big recall on certain types of pecorino. So before you buy it, just check it out. Like I just read that. I'm like, oh no. Yeah.
Amazing. So I always like to close with this. So growing up, my dad always said about like food or people or life that things should be good to you, good for you, and good with you. When it comes to gluten-free, gut-friendly eating, what does this mean to you?
Well, so I think that it's like kind of, it's just, I love that, by the way, that your dad said that. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's a great. So it kind of goes back to that old saying, you are what you eat, right? So also you feel what you eat and you exude what you eat, kind of thing, right? So I think when you talk about like what your dad said, all those three things, um, like when you're talking about gut friendly and gluten free and anything, like just being mindful of what you're putting in your body, and um, you if you listen to your body, like if you didn't eat something you weren't supposed to eat, or
Hmm.
if uh you did something, you ate this, oh, now I can't go out, or now I can't do this, or now why am I feeling so lethargic, why am I feeling, so it's one of those things where, yeah, just, I think that whole sentence is just like being mindful of your choices.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Sarita, for talking with me today. This is really, really great. I'm very inspired by your story and your journey of like creating Smack with like a gluten-free menu and so many allergy-friendly menu options that allow everyone to enjoy mac and cheese. For anyone who's craving mac and cheese, they should go to Smack anytime they're in New York City. Or if you're impatient like me, you can order nationwide shipping of Smack from eatsmack.com or follow them on Instagram at eatsmack. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much. I really had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Eat with Dominique. I had such an incredible time chatting with Sarita about Smack and the inspiring, gluten-free, allergy-friendly, cheesy goodness it provides. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. What's one comfort food you wish had a great gluten-free version? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you have a gluten-free, allergy-friendly, or gut-sensitive friend who needs better options, send this episode their way. We'd love to have them. This podcast is all about actionable tips, trustworthy brands, and real strategies to make gluten-free, gut-friendly living easier, tastier, and pain-free. So remember, whether it's life or food, make sure it's always good to you, good for you, and good with you. I'll see you soon.